So the Packers have come in and finalized their practice squad, with yesterday being the day that they cut down to 53. Their 53-man roster across the entire league. Tons of players were cut yesterday. Slowly throughout the training camp, teams move from 90 guys all the way down to the final 53 number. And so with lots of these guys being cut, tons of them were added back to the practice squad. So I want to go through the practice squad, and I have it right here from Packers.com. Every guy who did make it onto this Packers practice squad. So first off, we have defensive lineman Abdullah Anderson. And then moving on to a guy who I think, lots of Packers fans enjoy to watch. I personally enjoyed watching this preseason. An awesome guy in Kurt Benkert. I was sort of contemplating whether or not he would make the Packers final roster, just because I thought he looked solid, and I thought, maybe another team comes in and picks him up if the Packers don't, put him on this final roster. But as we can see, no other team came in and picked up Kurt Benkert off the waivers. So luckily for the Packers, he is on the practice squad, which honestly I'm pretty excited about, because, after this season, we don't know what the future holds for Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he ends up in Green Bay. Maybe he doesn't end up at Green Bay. But if Jordan Love is the guy, at least we have Kurt Benkert here, who could be a solid backup, maybe even starter over Jordan Love. I feel like that's a less likely scenario, but I still feel like that is a possible scenario. So I'm excited to see Kurt Benkert on this Packers practice squad, because he was fun to watch this preseason. And I thought he looked pretty good at times. He was just, willing to fling the ball around. He looked pretty accurate a lot of the time. So I think he's a solid player. I'm excited that he has been added to this Packers practice squad, and he will be sticking around Green Bay. Now moving on, we have wide receiver Chris Blair also added to the roster. Of course, the final guy who made the Packers roster yesterday, or one of the final spots at wide receiver, was Malik Taylor. And outside of that, there weren't enough spots to add all these other, who I'd say, pretty solid wide receivers the Packers do have. Then moving on to some offensive linemen, we have guard Ben Braden added to the practice squad, who honestly I was pretty shocked that he didn't make the roster, because earlier in camp there was some hype coming out about him, people talking about possibly him playing with the starters. So I thought at least he'd make the roster, but apparently that was not the case. But he has been added to the Packers practice squad. And of course, with this practice squad, during the season there's going to be injuries. It just happens, unfortunately. And so lots of these guys probably will get called up to the final roster some point during the season. So it's nice to have some guys who can come in here and be pretty solid, because I feel like Ben Braden's a pretty solid player. But anyways, now moving on, guard/tackle Jacob Capra also added. Cornerback Kabian Ento, who I thought may make the roster, didn't make the roster. Yeadham made it instead of him, the guy that the Packers traded Josh Jackson for. So Ento is on the Packers practice squad. Then we got safety Ennis Gaines. Myself, as you guys who've watched the channel know, I was contemplating, I thought either Ennis Gaines or Christian Uphoff would make the Packers final roster. Obviously, neither of that happened. And Christian Uphoff did not make the Packers practice squad. So I was a little bit surprised about that, but something interesting. And then moving on, we have outside linebacker Tipa Gallier. Of course, Jonathan Garvin and Chauncey Rivers were the two guys to finalize off the Packers outside linebackers, keeping 5 this season. But Tipa was unable to make the Packers roster. And I thought he showed some promising things in the preseason. Obviously not enough to make the roster, but the Packers have him back on the roster. Then we got tight end, a guy that Aaron Rodgers came out and praised earlier in training camp. At least the Packers have kept him around. Maybe there's a chance that Aaron Rodgers can call up Gutekunst during the season and be like, Gutekunst, call up Kafusi. We need him this week. Maybe that happens this season sometime. Then we got kicker J.J. Molson is on the practice squad. Defensive lineman Willington Previlon. We got wide receiver Equanimous St. Brown, once again, back in Green Bay. Running back Patrick Taylor. Dexter Williams did not make the practice squad. Honestly, I'm a little shocked about that. I thought in the preseason, Dexter Williams looked better than Patrick Taylor. I think Patrick Taylor is, a bigger guy, a more powerful guy, but I thought in the preseason, Dexter Williams looked pretty explosive. He's insanely quick and fast. So I'm surprised the Packers didn't keep him. Then we got tackle/guard, drafted this year. Colvin Lennon is on the practice squad, so hopefully he can develop on the practice squad and eventually, be ready for the Packers' actual roster. Then we got linebacker Ray Wilborn, and then wide receiver, who really, earlier in camp, lots of people were thinking maybe he would be the guy to take the Packers' final wide receiver spot. He dealt with some injuries, though, so that probably, held him back a little bit from getting there, but he is on this Packers practice squad. So those are all of the guys who have made the Packers practice squad, and as I've said, of course, lots of these guys will, get called up sometime during the season just because of injuries and all that kind of stuff. So good to have these guys back in Green Bay. If you guys haven't subscribed, you want to see Packers content on this channel, I put it out 1 to 2 times a day. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Follow my Twitter, Luke_Beller. That is my name. That is why that is my username. So follow me over there on Twitter for more Packers/NFL content. But thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you guys on the next video.